you out there worshiping Lucifer, didn't your mama teach you any better? What's that? You don't worship Lucifer? Oh, well, yes you do. And tonight proves it, even though you might not realize it. Today is New Year's Eve. And have you ever wondered why today is designated as the end of an old year and the beginning of a new? Moreover, have you ever wondered why a bunch of people go to New York City, get drunk, and watch as a ball drops from the top of a skyscraper to usher in the new year? That's a ritual, and they're performing it to Lucifer. A week ago, everybody got together and celebrated the winter solstice, December 21st through 24th, and ending on December 25th, Christmas Day, which is supposedly hearkening the birth of Christ. Now, 7 days later, they get together to perform another ritual to the new year. But to the casual observer, December 21st has no special significance whatsoever. But to somebody who is aware of the ancient art of astrotheology and how the movements of the heavens correlate to the allegorical lives of the gods, December 31st is a very important day. At approximately midnight, the brightest star in the sky, Sirius, has what's called its culmination, meaning the brightest star in the sky is at its highest point for the year at midnight tonight. The movement of Sirius through the sky was especially important to the ancient Egyptians and their mystery school traditions. They even had a calendar to it called the Sothic calendar. It's believed that the Egyptians started to represent this star as a dog because of a dog's inherent ability to warn you of impending danger. Every year at the beginning of the Sothic calendar, around the middle of July, Sirius would start to poke up above the horizon before dawn. This was the time of the year when the Nile would start to rise and become dangerous. So everybody that was around the Nile would see this as a warning that the guard dog of the heavens had warned them, had barked to let them know of the dangers of the rising waters and that it was time to move their families and get up to safety. This concept of the watchdog was present in the Egyptian god Anubis, the jackal or dog-headed one, who was always the faithful companion of Osiris, Isis, and Horus during their allegorical celestial life cycle. This procession of the gods can be seen in the great celestial drama that plays out in the sky tonight, when Orion, or Osiris, with his 3 belt stars, comes up over the horizon shortly after sundown. He's followed by Anubis, or Sirius, and at midnight they have their culmination. Later, towards daybreak, Virgo, the Virgin, or Isis, gives a virgin birth to the Son of God, Horus. This tradition is still echoed in Freemasonry, where the Masons have a symbol called the blazing star, which is representative of Sirius and of prudence, the virtue of being on the lookout for any dangers coming your way and acting accordingly. Now this is where things start to get spicy, because later on in Latin, Sirius began to be called Lucifer, literally the light bringer. But a Lucifer wasn't just the name of one celestial body. It was the name of anything that was bright and shining that came up before the sun during the year. And there were 2 celestial bodies that did that, Venus and Sirius. And this duality of female and male celestial bodies, fallen angels, is why Lucifer is seen as a divine androgyne, a hermaphrodite, having the qualities of both male and female. This rising before dawn is also why Lucifer was called the morning star, which is curiously also a name that Jesus supposedly called himself. I believe that one alone because I don't want to trigger too many of these. So now that you know the significance of all these and all the ancient cultures, let's take a look at the ritual that's happening tonight in New York City. Right now there's about a gajillion drunk, obnoxious idiots standing around in the rat-infested cancer that we call New York City. And they're all standing there being entertained by whoever the big-name Hollywood person is of the day, Jimmy Kimmel, or Taylor Swift, or Taylor Kimmel, or whoever is there to distract the peons from the mundanities of their pathetic lives. But one thing is certain, they're all standing there looking up at this big building with a ball on top, waiting for it to drop at midnight. That big building is called 1 Times Square. That's literally the address. It's 1 Times Square. And curiously enough, 1 Times Square is 111 meters tall. 1111. The ball is 12 foot in diameter and sits on a spire on top of this building. It's surrounded by Waterford crystal and lit up by LED lights, and everybody stands down in Times Square and looks up at this ball. And that would be approximately here in the middle of this yellow area. Now these are the streets that they have cordoned off for this event, and that's telling in itself, because the middle is 48th Street, and it goes down to 37th Street, which is 11, and then it goes up to 59th Street, which is 11. So 2 boxes of 11 bisected by a 7. So 11, 11, and 7 with a tower that's 111 meters. Yeah. And the best part is that everybody standing down there in Times Square is looking south at this building, and directly behind the ball in the sky is Sirius and Osiris at midnight. And if New York City wasn't such a light-polluted cesspool, you'd be able to see it. And isn't that just the joke of modern society, that it's the blind leading the blind, that people are just perpetuating these old rituals that they don't understand? So let me just leave everybody with this. Every day is the beginning of a new year. And if you don't like rituals and traditions and other assorted nonsense that you were programmed with since you were a kid and expected to conform to, just get rid of it. There's a lot of silly shit going on in the world right now because people are holding on too tightly to ancient beliefs that just retard the human mind and spirit. And I don't know if a lot of people ever tell you this, but your life means something. You matter, and you matter to me. The debate has gone on forever between spiritualists and materialists, and I think both sides are wrong. You're not just some cosmic mistake, and you weren't born with original sin, because that's not real. Jesus ain't coming back because Jesus never existed. No one's coming here to help you, your family, and your loved ones except you. If those old beliefs and ways of being don't serve you, make you kinder, happier, better, wealthier, a better person to serve yourself, your family, and the people around you, then get rid of them. And don't you dare give an apology to anybody for doing it. Your life is worth it, and you're better than this. It's a sad state of affairs where humanity has been so beaten down that they think they need to ask authority and experts for permission to take a shit. But you don't need to ask anybody for permission to live your life or do anything the way you want to. You're a sovereign human being, and you don't need to go along with the crowd. So from me and the whole team here at Museum of Tarot, we're sending you all the love in the world, and we hope you go out and make 2024 the best goddamn year of your life.
With keeping notes on all of us. Now, I don't believe that there's somebody sitting in the sky with his feet propped up on top of the world called God. I believe that God is the presence of good that is within each individual person, whether he knows it or not. And this is where my ministry comes in. It is my ministry to make the individual aware that the presence of God, the presence of all good, the potential of good is within each individual and not in the sky somewhere. But traditionally, especially in the Deep South, it began and of course has spread to the urban centers of the North, certainly in the last several years. The notion that this doom and gloom under which the spell under which we all are functioning will someday end, and Jesus will take us into his great paradise that he has prepared for us. So cope now, because there is a great reward later. I usually say, when you find the heaven that is within you, then you will find yourself in heaven. Not until then, because heaven and hell are both states of mind. When a person is in a very doubtful and negative state of mind, he's always going to catch hell. He's going to experience hell. But when the individual finds the heaven, the harmony, the God, the good, the love that is resident in his own being, then he begins to experience heaven. So when a person says, "Oh Lord, I'm sorry, please help me get through this vale of tears, this valley of temptation," you deplore that, don't you? Well, if this is the person's only understanding, he has to pray on the level of his understanding. However, the Bible does say, "Be you transformed by the renewing of your mind." And this is what this ministry does. In other words, you change your conditions by changing your self-image. If you see yourself as a person who is in a vale of tears and under conditions and circumstances, that's the way you will be until you change your mind, until you change your self-image. Is it your view that traditional fundamentalist religion makes it more difficult to change one's mind? Yes, it does, because here again, you see, in that type of religion, we are taught that either God or the devil are responsible for what happens to us. But in what I call the science of living, or the science of self-awareness, I teach that the individual is responsible for his condition, and not only that, the individual, by using his own mind positively, can change his condition and modify his conditions. And so the responsibility for our lives does not lie with some deity in the sky, but it lies with the God power within each one of us.
And is that what you mean by saying don't wait for your pie in the sky by and by?
Get it now with ice cream on top.
That's a kind of euphemism, which is the core of your message, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Because I believe that good is now. Whatever good is, whatever God is, that is now.
But how do I get it if I come to one of your services and I'm one of 4,000 people and you are attracting larger and larger crowds? I don't understand how, if I'm in the back row, what are you saying to me that's going to get me out of this sort of self-fulfilling prophecy of doom? And
all right, first of all, I make the individual aware that the power of God, the power of good, the power of love is within his own being, and that he has the power to believe in himself, and by believing in himself correctly and positively, he can be what he wants to be, do what he wants to do, and have what he wants to have. Also, one of the techniques that I teach is called visualization. It teaches the person to see himself being, doing, and having the good which he desires. Because here again, I regard the Bible as a book of psychology rather than a book of theology. And the Bible says, where there is no vision, the people perish. And it simply means that if you cannot see yourself in a better condition, you will die in the terrible condition that you're in. And so by teaching individuals, even in mass, to see themselves in a better condition, they are led into the correct ways and means of becoming better, doing better, and having better. And I see it happen all the time.